This woman wants to punish her husband because she suspects he's having an affair. However, if something happens to him, figuring out how to escape the deserted island with its cannibalistic natives becomes the real priority. In the end, which should she prioritize first? Sergei, an architect, sprints through a park clutching an intricate architectural model, hurrying to meet his best friend Vavka and a potential client for their first big contract. Upon realizing he's taken the wrong path, Sergei slips and accidentally collides with Marina, sending his model flying. Sergei is captivated by Marina's striking appearance and helps her gather her belongings, but their moment is cut short when Marina's parents interrupt, reprimanding Sergei for his carelessness. As the family begins to leave, Sergei boldly declares that he and Marina were married in a past life. Marina smiles at his words, but her parents pull her away, reminding her to stay focused on her upcoming competition. Just then, it starts raining, and Vavka calls to remind Sergei that time is running out. Sergei, however, sees meeting Marina as fate and urges Vavka to proceed without him. Sergei chases after Marina and her family, but is denied entry to the competition grounds. Marina is revealed to be a skilled archer competing in a regional tournament, with dreams of qualifying for the Olympics in a few years. Despite the rain, Marina performs brilliantly, earning points with precision, but her opponent matches her, bringing the score to a tie. Sergei looks for a way to sneak in, occasionally peering at Marina through a small opening in the wall. Finding a large trash bin, he climbs it, jumps over the wall, and runs through the bushes. He finally emerges in the competition area, inadvertently distracting Marina during her final shot, causing her to miss and hit his shoulder instead. Marina rushes to check on Sergei, but he appears unfazed and begins sharing a vision of them living happily as a married couple. Paramedics arrive and take Sergei away, reassuring Marina that he'll recover in time for their wedding. Later, Sergei escapes the hospital just to propose to Marina. 3 years into their marriage, their relationship begins to sour. Sergei, consumed by work, misses their anniversary celebration. Marina, having planned a romantic evening, ends up throwing the cake away in frustration. At work, Sergei and Vavka reveal that they've spent 3 years fighting to secure this project, which is Sergei's big opportunity to become lead architect. He stays late if necessary to ensure its success. Once the meeting ends, Sergei hurries home with flowers and an apology, explaining how critical the project is to his career. However, Marina has given up on their dinner plans and locked herself in the bedroom. Sergei suggests postponing the celebration to the following day, and even including her parents, which Marina reluctantly agrees to, but she still makes him sleep on the couch. The next morning, Marina heads to the gym, where her friend shares frustrations about her husband's behavior, mentioning how he even takes his phone to the bathroom, leading her to suspect unfaithfulness. This conversation causes Marina to reflect on her relationship with Sergei. Later, the couple celebrates their anniversary with Marina's parents, where her father tries to share a heartfelt letter he wrote for the occasion. His speech is cut short when Sergei's phone rings, and Sergei excuses himself to take the call in another room. Marina, irritated, brings him back, reminding him of his promise to behave. Her father tries to resume, but Sergei's phone rings again, and he leaves the table once more. Frustrated, Marina's parents decide to leave since nothing productive is happening. After they go, Marina, visibly upset, tries to have a serious conversation with Sergei, but he steps onto the balcony to continue his call. Feeling defeated, Marina packs a suitcase and leaves the apartment to stay with her parents. Sergei sees her leaving and chases after her, pleading for a conversation, but Marina ignores him and boards a bus. Sergei follows and delivers a public speech from the other end of the bus, declaring his desire to fix their relationship. He expresses how much he cares, but Marina counters with examples of times he prioritized work over her, prompting the other passengers to side with her. In a desperate attempt to win her back, Sergei proposes they leave for an exotic vacation the next day, promising to ignore all work-related calls. Marina hesitates, but after encouragement from the other passengers, she agrees, just as fireworks light up the sky outside. The following morning, Sergei informs his boss he's taking a week off, only to be told the project will be reassigned to another team. Refusing to accept this, Sergei loses his temper and destroys the paperwork on his boss' desk. When Sergei arrives home, he finds Marina in a terrible mood. She explains that her company denied her vacation request due to the lack of someone to fill her role, leaving her feeling guilty since Sergei sacrificed his project for their plans. Sergei pretends to feel disappointed, though he's secretly relieved at the prospect of returning to work. His mood shifts, however, when Marina suddenly calls her boss and resigns, declaring that family takes priority. As Marina begins packing for their trip, Sergei secretly calls Vavka and asks him to create the illusion that Sergei is still working, hoping to prevent their boss from reassigning the project. Later, during their flight, the couple watches a documentary about the island's indigenous culture and learns that, in the past, wives would eat their husbands if they failed to meet expectations. Upon reaching their destination, they enjoy a scenic ride to their hotel. Back in the city, Vovka places Sergei's jacket on his office chair and opens his email on the computer to maintain the ruse. This convinces the boss that Sergei is present, prompting him to announce a meeting later that day. At the hotel, Sergei notices a call from Vovka, but decides to ignore it. Once they check into their room, Marina announces she's taking a shower, and Sergei realizes he has some time to make a private call. He contacts Vovka, learns about the meeting, and hatches a plan. Sergei sits in front of a neutral window and borrows a waiter's uniform to appear in the meeting via video call. He tries to pass off the illusion that he's in the company's lab overseeing the project, but the waiter unexpectedly opens the window, revealing animals outside. Thinking quickly, Sergei explains that the animals are part of a 3D window display, a feature of the project. Initially startled, the clients eventually find the idea innovative and exciting. When Marina starts looking for him, Sergei leaves Vovka in charge and pretends to be checking the weather forecast to hide his work. Marina joins him, kisses him, and remains completely unaware that the video camera is still on. Later, the couple rents a boat to explore the islands. The rental employee attempts to warn them about an approaching storm, but since they don't understand his language, they take the employee's radio and set off anyway. For several hours, they enjoy themselves, sailing through calm waters and admiring the breathtaking scenery. Every time Sergei's phone rings, he ignores it, focusing solely on spending quality time with Marina. Sergei's excitement leads him to steer the boat farther out than he should, and before long, the storm catches up with them. They do their best to navigate through the powerful waves as lightning flashes across the sky. Eventually, the storm subsides, but the couple finds themselves stranded in open water, unsure how to return. Spotting an island in the distance, Sergei pretends it was their intended destination all along. They dock at the island, and Sergei claims it's a surprise for Marina, framing it as the beginning of a true adventure. He suggests Marina relax while he searches for fruit, but his real goal is to find a spot with phone reception. After wandering unsuccessfully, he takes off his belt, climbs a tall tree, and finally gets a signal. He calls Vovka, who's furious because everyone at the office is demanding to know how the 3D windows will be implemented. To make matters worse, the team has seen footage of Sergei and Marina kissing during the video call, and they expect Sergei at a meeting the following morning. As Marina finishes her swim, she notices Sergei in the tree and walks over to investigate. She arrives just as he tells Vovka that the most critical thing is keeping Marina unaware of the situation, or she make his life difficult. Suspecting he might be hiding something, Marina calls out his name, and Sergei quickly claims he climbed the tree to get coconuts. That evening, they share a tender moment by the fire, but even in his sleep, Sergei mutters about the meeting he has in the morning. Marina picks up his phone but can't unlock it because of the password, something her friend had mentioned as a possible sign of betrayal. She then shifts her focus to the boat, coming up with another plan. The next morning, Sergei panics when he notices the boat is missing and realizes his phone is gone too. Marina playfully mocks his reaction, reminding him that he had said this area is popular with tourists, so help should arrive eventually. Later, Marina announces she's going to search for food, and Sergei follows her, discovering where she hid the boat and realizing she has the only key to start it. They share a small picnic with the snacks they packed, and Marina recalls the Plane documentary, jokingly reminding Sergei about the tradition of wives eating unfaithful husbands. Sergei laughs it off, pointing out that husbands used to do the same, though he can't help but fixate on the key hanging around Marina's neck. In the early morning, Marina wakes up to find herself tied up and notices that the key is missing. Sergei, now on the boat, complains about likely losing his job for missing the meeting and attempts to sail off, ignoring Marina's shouts of caution. Marina remains calm, uses a knife to free herself from the ropes, and walks away, just as the boat suddenly halts. It turns out Marina had anchored the boat, causing it to be dragged back and capsizing, throwing Sergei into the water. Later on, Marina uses the knife to cut wood and vines, crafting a bow for herself. Meanwhile, Sergei searches for her and stumbles upon a cave filled with tools and the eerie remains of past travelers. As he exits the cave, he realizes it's part of a skull-shaped mountain and spots signs of nearby inhabitants. Panicked, Sergei starts running, only to run straight into Marina. Before he can warn her about the locals, he believes to be cannibals, Marina begins firing arrows at him. Sergei dodges quickly and takes cover behind a tree while Marina accuses him of infidelity. Still trying to warn her about the supposed danger, Sergei tosses a coconut to knock away her latest arrow. He then makes a run for it, with Marina chasing him and firing another arrow, which he barely deflects with a branch. This gives Sergei the chance to escape out of sight, and Marina loses track of him. Shortly after, Marina washes off under a waterfall while Sergei vents his frustrations to a small animal he encounters. Exhausted, Sergei collapses to the ground and eats the first plant he thinks might be safe. Suddenly, he hears Vovka's voice asking him a question, and a stack of papers along with a pen materialize beside him, which he uses to jot down an answer. Moments later, Vovka appears, praising Sergei as a genius for solving the project's issues. Vovka casually mentions that Marina has always been untrustworthy, suggesting she had plans to sabotage the project all along. Shocked, Sergei realizes that Vovka is merely a hallucination brought on by the berries he ate. Afterward, Sergei and his imagined companion head toward the shore as Vovka explains a possible method to recover the boat. They dive into the water, secure some ropes around the boat, and gradually pull it back to the surface. Sergei refuses to leave without Marina, but just then, she appears and fires an arrow that hits the boat. As Vovka vanishes, Sergei ducks behind the boat, trying to persuade Marina to leave with him, but she shoots a flaming arrow, setting the boat ablaze. Seizing the distraction, Sergei flees and resumes venting his frustrations to the nearby animals. Meanwhile, Marina stumbles upon a trap and the remains of a past tourist, confirming that locals inhabit the area. Speaking of the locals, two of them are gathering supplies nearby, giving Sergei the opportunity to steal their boat and escape down the river. After hours of frantic swimming, Sergei reaches the shore and starts eating berries again, hoping they will summon Vovka. Instead, Marina's father appears, lecturing Sergei about how poorly he has treated Marina. From the bush, a local observes Sergei's odd behavior, assuming he's lost his mind since the old man is invisible to him. After a heated exchange, Marina's father advises Sergei to take responsibility, suggesting he knock Marina unconscious and carry her to the boat to escape together. Sergei and the old man venture into the forest, spotting Marina nearby. Sergei carefully sneaks up on her, ensuring she doesn't notice him. He hesitates, but the father pressures him before vanishing, prompting Sergei to strike Marina with a branch to knock her out. As Sergei moves closer to check on her, he accidentally triggers a trap that leaves him dangling upside down from a tree. Marina regains consciousness and considers whether to free him, but before she can act, the locals arrive, forcing her to flee. While some of the locals capture Sergei from the trap, another group chases after Marina. She sprints as fast as she can and eventually stumbles upon the villagers' settlement, where she hides inside one of the tents. The hunters arrive shortly after and search the village thoroughly, while a native woman complains about her husband always being away. When her husband stops to look for Marina, he brushes off his wife's attempts at affection, leaving her so upset that she keeps Marina's hiding spot a secret after spotting her in the tent. Once her husband leaves, the woman takes a closer look at Marina, intrigued by her appearance and fascinated by her wedding ring. By the time the men check the tent, both Marina and the native woman have vanished. As Marina sprints through the woods with the hunters closing in, Sergei suddenly pulls her into a nearby cave. He proposes teaming up to find a way out, but Marina lashes out, accusing him of betrayal. While Sergei ducks behind the clutter in the cave to defend himself, some objects tumble over, including a few lifeless bodies that fall onto Marina. Undeterred, she grabs whatever she can to strike him, and when she runs out of weapons, she resorts to landing punches directly on Sergei. The confrontation turns into a physical fight, with both trading blows and throwing each other across the cave until Sergei collapses, unconscious. Concerned, Marina attempts CPR, and when he doesn't respond, she breaks down, pounding his chest in frustration. This finally jolts Sergei awake. The two escape into the forest together, but Sergei declares they should part ways and get a divorce. Though hurt, Marina agrees with his decision. They exchange sharp words, blaming each other for lost opportunities. Sergei believes he could have been a lead architect, while Marina insists she would have made it to the Olympics. Suddenly, they both freeze and drop to the ground as tranquilizer darts from the natives take effect. Moments later, the shaman begins preparing a ceremony to dispose of the couple, bringing the story full circle. They are forced to consume a vile drink. Sergei is bound to a boat, while Marina is tied to a pyre. As the ritual begins, Sergei is sent drifting down the river, reflecting on their relationship and recalling the moment he first met Marina. In that instant, he realizes she hadn't been distracted during their first encounter. She had chosen to miss on purpose, just as he ignored his meeting, both believing in fate. Reinvigorated by his newfound belief in love, Sergei spots a monkey's cry directing him to a nearby patch of land where he manages to leap and escape. Climbing tirelessly up the vines, Sergei sneaks back into the village, blending in by imitating the dancers performing around the pyre. Spotting a chance, he rushes to Marina, who remains composed and unresponsive to his efforts. As Sergei tries desperately to get her attention, the leader announces it's time for the final act of the ritual. In a last-ditch effort, Sergei grabs a spear, threatens the leader, and pleads with Marina to run to safety. When she doesn't respond, Sergei begins recalling their shared memories and admits he can't imagine life without her. He finally acknowledges all that she has given up for him and vows it's his turn to make a sacrifice. Marina eventually reacts, using a knife to cut a few ropes, signaling her acceptance of Sergei's gesture. The natives try to grab Sergei as the leader ignites the pyre, but Sergei turns to fight them off. After taking down the leader, he shoves the pyre aside and musters all of his strength to lift the trunk holding Marina. He runs as fast as he can, with the natives in pursuit, reaching the edge of a cliff and leaping into the water below. As they fall, the couple shares a kiss, and the trunk keeps them afloat once they hit the water. The natives hurl arrows and spears at them, while Sergei maneuvers the trunk to avoid the attacks. Meanwhile, Marina keeps talking, insisting she doesn't want a divorce and urging Sergei to balance his career and personal life. Frustrated, Sergei tips the trunk to submerge Marina briefly, using the moment to undo the last of her ropes. They eventually reach the shore, where they find the boat Sergei had earlier stolen from the natives. While pushing the boat into the water, a native appears to attack. Sergei sends Marina off on the boat while staying behind to fight. Both men strike at the same time, with the native collapsing unconscious and Sergei falling to the ground winded. Marina rushes back to embrace Sergei as the woman from earlier reappears, revealing she now has Marina's ring, which she took in exchange for letting her escape. The woman offers to return the ring in exchange for her husband's body, so she can finally consume it. The couple rows away in the boat, even as their arms grow weary, determined to escape. Several days later, they safely arrive back in the city, where Marina's parents come to pick them up. Sergei explains everything that happened, but when they react awkwardly, he quickly pretends it was just a joke. At that moment, Vovka arrives, claiming he found the solution to their work problem in a dream, which strangely resembles Sergei's earlier hallucination. The company offers Sergei the position of lead architect at a new branch, but seeing Marina's expression, he hurries to her and lies that he didn't get the job. Marina is deeply moved by his fib, though she wonders aloud how they'll manage to pay their mortgage.